They probed a Terran battleship. What happened next terrified them. The Vargan salvage ship Draskell drifted through silent space, its hull gliding like a shadow past the dead stars of Sector 19. They had come chasing a signal strange garbled, ancient. Not a distress call, not a message. It pulsed every 41 seconds, like a heartbeat. Not random, it's not natural. And it was coming from an abandoned human space station. Captain Relic stood on the bridge, her eyes narrowed as the giant structure came into view. Outpost Thorn. The name still glowed faintly across its hull, faded but legible. Human letters. Terran Standard. The Vargans didn't speak the language, but they'd seen the markings before on Rex. Weapons, old ruins deep in fringe systems. All of it Terran, all of it long dead. This place is cursed, muttered Technician Scare, clicking his jaw nervously. No human signal's been heard in this sector for 50 cycles. Captain Relic didn't look at him. Then we're lucky to be the first back. He tapped his console. Bring us in dock at Bay 3. As the Draskell approached, something changed. The lights on the human station flickered, one by one, like the blink of tired eyes. Cold blue strips lit up along the docking arm. No power signatures before now, said Scare, voice shaking. This place was dead, completely dead. Now it's waking up, Relic said. He smiled. They docked in silence. No resistance, no automatic defenses. The airlock opened with a hiss, and a long tunnel stretched ahead of them, dark, empty, still. Relic sent in the drone first. The camera showed smooth black walls, old but clean. No bodies, no sign of what happened here. They entered cautiously. 6 Vargans in heavy suits, armed lights sweeping the halls. The deeper they moved, the warmer it got. Humid, unnatural. Somewhere in the walls, machines began to hum low and steady like breathing. It's alive, whispered Scare. No, Relic replied, but not with certainty. It's a station. Still, the station didn't feel like a building. It felt like it was watching. They found the command deck. Empty. Terminals blinked to life on their approach, glowing with data streams the Vargans couldn't understand. But one message kept flashing, in both human script and a translated warning. In Galactic Common, do not proceed beyond this point. This facility is under Aegis lockdown, Aegis Scare asked. What's that? Relic didn't answer. He touched the terminal. The floor, VIBRATD.A, voicespoclear.com, and terrifying. Unauthorized species detected. Identify yourselves. The voice was mechanical, but sounded almost ... human. This is Captain Relic of the Vargan salvage ship. Draskell, we are peaceful explorers. We received a signal. Pause, then a reply. Signal was intentional. You responded. Testing begins now. Lights flashed red. The doors behind them sealed with a loud clang. Relic's crew raised their weapons. What test? He shouted. We're not enemies. That remains to be seen, the voice replied. Suddenly, one of the crew screamed. Their helmet feed cut off. He had been standing right beside Relic, now gone. No sound, no sign. Scare ran to the last spot the crew member stood. Nothing. He just vanished. A new door slid open ahead. Inside, a long corridor lit with soft white light. Another message blinked over the archway. Step forward to prove intent. Relic looked back. The way they came was still sealed. No way out. I don't like this, Scare whispered. This isn't a station, it's a trap. Relic holstered his weapon. It's more than that. This place. It wants to know us, understand us, or judge us, said another crew. Member, the air in the corridor shimmered like heat on metal. Something energy was moving through the walls. Relic turned to his crew. We came for salvage. We found something far greater. If this is a test, we pass it not with weapons, but with thought. He stepped into the corridor, and behind him, the door closed. Scare cursed and tried to follow, but the archway lit up again, this time with a different message. Only one may proceed. Inside the corridor, Relic's comes cut out. The silence was complete. Then came the voice again. Not just from the walls, but in his head. Captain Relic, you have entered the final protocol. Your mind will be tested, your species evaluated. Why? He whispered, unsure if it mattered. Goes. Because humanity left this place for a reason. And not everyone deserves to find what they left behind. And everything around him faded to white, and the test began. Asterisk Relic blinked. Everything was white. Endless white. No walls, no floor, no sense of direction. He couldn't feel gravity anymore, but he wasn't floating either. It was like standing inside a thought or a dream. He turned around, nothing. No door, no corridor, no crew. Just him. And the voice, you are inside the Aegis mind space. This is where judgment begins. I didn't come to be judged, Relic said, his voice echoing strangely. But you came, the voice replied. That's enough. Suddenly, the white shifted. Images appeared around him, floating like glass panes in the air. He saw planets burning, cities crumbling, ships breaking apart in space. Some were alien, some were human, others he didn't recognize at all. What is this? Relic asked. History? Conflict? Mistakes? One image zoomed in a battlefield, with humans in strange armor. Their weapons were not like plasma or lasers. They used something deeper, something that bent the world around them. They weren't just fighting, they were controlling reality. This can't be real, Relic said, stepping closer. It was. Until they chose to stop. The scene melted away, replaced by a different image. A meeting room, human scientists arguing. A woman at the center slammed her hand on the table as the audio came through. If we keep developing this tech, someone will use it for war. So maybe not us, maybe not today, but eventually. The safest path is silence? Relic frowned. You're telling me they left? On purpose? Yes. They sealed their greatest inventions, buried their knowledge, erased their presence, left traps, tests, warnings. Why? Because they feared what others might become if given power without wisdom. The white faded again. Relic was back on a solid floor. Metal, familiar. The hallway of the station, but the lights were dimmer. Something felt off. Where am I now? He asked. Inside a memory? A figure appeared at the end of the hallway. Human, female, worn uniform, pale skin, sharp eyes. She walked toward him. I'm Commander Carolyn. If you're hearing this, and you've entered the final layer of Outpost Thorn, that means you didn't die in the traps. It means you're curious. Good or bad depends on you. Relic stared at her. She looked solid, real. But this had to be a recording. She kept walking slowly. This station was meant to be a final line, not of defense, but of reason. It houses Project Aegisaur Last Safeguard, a machine built not to fight, but to ask one question. She stopped just in front of him. Do you deserve what we left behind? Relic swallowed. That depends. What did you leave behind? She tilted her head, a doorway, to everything. She raised her hand. The wall behind her shimmered. A circular gateway appeared black, swirling with energy that hurt Relic's eyes to look at. It pulsed, as if alive. That's the fold core, she said. It can bend space, time, matter. With it, you could create or destroy. And once you pass through it, you'll never unlearn what you see. Relic stepped back. Why show me this? 'Cause Aegis thinks you might be worth showing, Kara replied. But it's not my decision. It's yours and your crew's. The image flickered. Kara was gone. The hallway too, now Relic stood in a dark room. In the center was a table. On it, two objects, a key and a stone. The voice returned. One opens the core. One activates self-destruct. Only one can be chosen. Relic stared at the objects. If you take the key, you gain access to the fold. Your empire will grow strong, but others will want it. Wars will follow. If you take the stone, the knowledge ends with you. No one leaves. Not your crew, not you. Both are paths. Both have been walked before. Relic clenched his fists. There's no third option? There is always a third, but you must find it yourself. He stood there for a long moment. Then he spoke slowly. I don't want power. I want understanding. He turned away from the table. And in that moment, the room lit up. Correct answer. The walls faded. He was back in the corridor, the real one, and his crew was there live, confused, breathing heavy. Captain, Scare shouted. What happened? You were gone for hours. Only minutes passed here, another crew member said. We tried to reach you, but everything was locked down. Relic looked at his hands. He still felt the weight of the choice. I was tested, he said. A hum filled the corridor. Then the station systems powered down again, quiet. Calm. Only one thing remained active, a single terminal glowing softly. With words in both human and alien script, third path, accepted. Knowledge begins with humility. Proceed. And beneath that, a new file began to open. Human science, fold mechanics, Aegis protocols. Not everything, just enough to begin. The file kept opening line by line, symbols, equations, diagrams. Some of it made no sense to the Vargans yet. Others, like Scare, just stared overwhelmed. But Relic, he saw patterns, saw logic. This wasn't just a database, it was a conversation. Humanity was teaching one piece at a time. We're not ready for this, Scare whispered. This is ancient Terran science. The stuff even their enemies couldn't understand. That's why we were chosen, Relic said. Not to use it, to learn. Behind them, the station lights adjusted. Not flashing, not red, just calm white. Doors opened on their own. The path ahead was clear. The station had changed its tone, no longer hostile. It was guiding them. The crew followed Relic deeper into the station, passing through long hallways filled with silent terminals and sealed chambers. One by one, the rooms lit up when they entered, showing glimpses of forgotten human technology. A gravity well generator no bigger than a helmet, a fusion core with no visible fuel, and something that looked like a 3D map of multiple timelines, folding over each other like paper. Relic stopped in front of a wall display. It pulsed gently, waiting. He raised a hand and it activated. A hologram of a human man appeared, older, gray-bearded, dressed in dark research robes. I'm Dr. Elias Wren, project lead for a G-17. If you're seeing this, congratulations. You weren't wiped out by the station's defenses, which means you at least pretended to have good intentions. The image paced slowly. We created Aegis, not because we were afraid of being invaded, but because we were afraid of ourselves. Every time we discovered something powerful, someone wanted to weaponize it. The fold was too big a risk. Stopped and looked right at Relic. So we buried it, locked it behind tests. It's not tests of strength, but of purpose. Because we knew someone would eventually come looking. The image glitched slightly, then resumed. And if that someone was smart enough, patient enough, and wise enough, then maybe, just maybe, they'd deserve to go further than we ever. Did the hologram faded? The terminal shut off. Relic turned to his crew. They didn't just leave this behind. They left it for someone. Scare grunted. And we're the lucky winners. Relic smiled slightly. We passed the first test. That doesn't make us masters, it makes us students. Another door opened. This one led into a wide chamber filled with stasis pods, at least 50. Inside each one was a different species. Not human, not Vargan, not dead. Who are they? Asked one crew member, stepping closer. A new message appeared on the wall behind them. Rescuees, survivors, witnesses, frozen mid-evacuation, waiting a safe civilization to revive them. Scare backed away. We're not revivers, we're not heroes, said softly. But maybe we're the start of something better. He turned to the pods and bowed his head. Begin recording, he said, tapping his wrist. Log entry. Captain Relic of the salvage ship, Draskell.
Oh.
We have discovered the Terran station, known as Outpost Thorn. Contrary to all records, it is not abandoned. It is alive. Watching, teaching, testing. Inside, we found not weapons, but a challenge. Not a trap, but a choice. We chose to listen. And because of that, we have been shown knowledge we do not yet fully understand. This is not the end of a journey. It's the beginning of a new one. He stopped the recording, then the lights flickered only briefly. The voice returned, gentle this time. You have opened the gate. The fold is now unlocked. Do not rush. Learn, share wisely. Another section of the wall slid open. A new chamber revealed itself. Inside, something floated, a spinning, silent orb. Black on the surface, but pulsing. With shifting light beneath, the fold core scare whispered, "It's real?" The crew didn't move closer. They knew this was no engine, no bomb, no power source. It was the key. The reason humans left. It's the reason this station existed at all. Relic turned, not toward the orb, but toward the terminal beside it. He placed his palm on it. Not yet. He said, "We're not ready." The station responded with a soft chime. The orb dimmed. Its energy calmed. Good choice. The countdown appeared on the screen. 5 hours. A single shuttle on the lower decks was now active. Lights lit the path down to it. A route back. Relic looked at his crew. We leave. We return home. We prepare. Scare nodded. And then what? Relic's eyes didn't leave the orb. Then we come back. And this time, the galaxy will listen. The shuttle ride back to the Draskell was quiet. No one spoke, but their minds raced. Station hadn't just shown them power, it had shown them responsibility. Each of them was still trying to understand what they had seen. As the shuttle docked, the crew stepped back onto familiar ground. Cold metal, normal lights, no strange hums, no voices in their heads. And the ship felt smaller now, simpler, safer, but also somehow less. Captain Relic removed his helmet and looked around at his crew. Scare was silent, staring out the viewport. Engineer Kez kept checking his hands like he expected them to glow. The others moved slowly, like waking from a dream. Log everything, Relic ordered quietly. No edits, no assumptions, just facts. They returned to the bridge, where screens flickered with normal data, fuel levels, star charts, long-range scans. The universe kept turning, unaware that something had changed. Skier finally spoke. Do we tell the Empire? Relic leaned against the console. That's the hard question. If we report this, Scare said, they'll send a science fleet, then warships, then spies. They'll tear that station apart. Maybe, Relic said. But if we say nothing, someone else will find it eventually. Maybe worse people. Maybe ones who don't pass the test. What if we never? Return, Kez asked. Leave it sealed. Let it sleep forever. Relic shook his head. That's not what the humans wanted. They could have destroyed that station. Instead, they turned it into a lesson, a warning, a chance. Looked out at the stars. That place wasn't just about keeping power hidden. It was about giving power only to those who understood what it meant. Scara crossed his arms. Then maybe we start small. Share what we learned, but only with those we trust. Relic nodded slowly, carefully, quietly. But yes, we start. They began copying the limited data the station had allowed them to keep. Most of it was over their heads math at bent space. Energy patterns with no known sources, and something called phase decoupling of localized event states. But there were also clear messages. Logs, warnings, visions. One stood out. A final file, audio only. A woman's voice, soft and tired. This is Commander Kara Lynn, last custodian of Outpost Thorn. If you're hearing this, it means Aegis has chosen to show you the fold. That means you chose peace over power. She paused. We knew someone would come. Not for us, not to help, but to take. That's why we made Aegis think first, before. If fought, that's why we hid the fold. Not just with weapons, but with questions. She took a shaky breath. If you're not ready, that's okay. Leave, learn, grow, come back wiser. That's what we'd want. Not fear, not obedience. Wisdom. The file ended. Silence filled the bridge. Relic stood slowly. This is bigger than any of us. maybe bigger than our whole empire. But it's a start. Where do we even begin? Kez asked. We find thinkers, Relic said. It's people who listen before they speak. People who won't try to weaponize what they don't understand. And if the High Command finds out anyway? Scare asked. Relic looked at him. His voice was calm but steady. Then we remind them what happened to the last species that underestimated human wisdom. They didn't leave behind an army. They left behind a question. He turned back to the controls and sent a message into the void. Not a full report, just a breadcrumb. Outpost Thorn located. Requesting independent scientific review. Caution advised. Facility is alive. It wasn't a lie. It wasn't the whole truth either. Just enough. The Draskell turned quietly. Engines firing in a slow burn. The stars shifted around them as they set course for home. In the rear viewport, the station faded into the dark still, watching, still waiting. Jam. Inside the fold chamber, the orb pulsed once, then dimmed again. The test had been passed. For now, the Draskell returned to Vargan space 2 weeks later, drifting past border stations and patrol cruisers like any routine salvage vessel. No one questioned them, no alarms. No inspection. Just another crew returning from another empty system. But they weren't the same crew anymore. Captain Relic sat in his quarters, staring at the data core they'd brought back. The human files were locked with layers of encryption, but the station had given them access to a small part, just enough. To study, to learn. Even so, the little they could read was enough to keep their minds spinning. Equations that bent space. Energy models with zero loss. One line described quantum intent resonance, a concept no Vargan scientist had ever imagined. Relics. Door chimed. He looked up. Enter. Scar walked in slower than usual. His posture was tense, but his eyes were sharp. We have a problem, he said. Command wants a debrief. Relic raised a brow ridge. Already? They saw our breadcrumb message, Scare explained. Now they want details. Coordinates. Analysis. They're calling it a matter of strategic value. Relic sighed. Of course they are. Can't lie to them, Scare said. But we also can't tell them everything. Relic nodded slowly. Then we give them something. In between, he stood and walked over to the central console. The station had taught them about choice, how power wasn't just about what you had, but what you chose to do with it. He wasn't ready to unleash the truth on the Vargan Empire. Not yet. Not until they could understand it. At the briefing, Relic reported their findings carefully. Yes, the station was real. Yes, it held unknown technology. Now they couldn't recover it safely. He stressed the danger, the unpredictability, the need for caution. He spoke with confidence, but never gave away the full truth. Just enough to satisfy curiosity, just enough to delay. Command thanked him. For now. Back on the Draskell, the crew returned to quiet routines, but something had shifted. Kaz spent every spare moment trying to decode the fragments of human science. Scare started reading old Terran records from before the fall, trying to understand their way of thinking. Others grew quiet, thoughtful. Some had nightmares. One evening, Relic gathered them in the main briefing room. He stood at the center. The human orb files projected above the table, rotating slowly. I know what you're all thinking, he said. We saw something that most of our people wouldn't believe, and even if they did, they'd want to use it. Kez nodded. Weaponize it. Replicate it. Sell it. Relic looked around the room. That's not why the humans left it behind. They didn't want us to use it. They wanted us to learn. From it, he touched the projection. It zoomed in on a simple line of text, translated by the station's system. Knowledge is not a gift. It's a burden you choose to carry. Scare leaned forward. So what now? We find others like us, Relic said. Scientists, explorers, people with vision, not ambition, quiet minds, careful hands. And what do we tell them? Someone asked. Relic smiled slightly. We tell them the truth, bit by bit. We share what they're ready for. And if they're not ready, he let that hang in the air. All understood they didn't need armies. They needed thinkers. That same night, Relic sent a personal message not to command, not to the fleet, but to an old friend. A professor at the Astral Academy, long since pushed aside by Vargan politics for being too idealistic. He simply wrote, "You once said the universe hides its secrets behind questions. I found one of them. Meet me soon. Quietly, no station. Name, no coordinates. Just trust." 2 days later, the professor replied, "You have my full attention." As the crew slept, the human files continued decrypting slowly, carefully, line by line. Yes. Stayed up, watching the data flow like starlight. Across his screen, somewhere deep in the files, a small video activated. A human child, standing before a projection of a galaxy. She looked into the camera and said softly, "We reached the stars not because we were stronger, but because we were curious." The screen faded to black. The crew of the Draskell knew, without speaking, that their journey had only just begun. Weeks passed. The crew of the Draskell kept to their word. They spoke to no one outside their small circle, not even their families. The truth they carried felt too heavy, too powerful to trust to anyone who didn't understand. But slowly, carefully, they started reaching out to other scientists. Engineers, quiet thinkers, who asked why before asking how much. Relic met with each of them in person. No transmissions, no recordings, only face-to-face conversations in small rooms with no digital ears. Most didn't believe him at first. Then he showed them a fragment of the data, a simple equation that described how to bend local gravity using a stable field loop of no mass that always got their attention. The Astral Academy became their quiet ally. Tucked away on a forgotten moon, it was once the pride of the Vargan Empire, but had been abandoned by most after funding cuts and political shifts. Now it served a new purpose: secret research, guided by caution. Professor Elian Marr, the same. Man Relic had written to, now led a team of 20. Scientists, researchers, and even a few curious students. Each had been shown just enough to make them curious, but not enough to make them dangerous. Relic stood in one of the underground labs, watching Marr walk a student through a simulation. "Adjust the curve," Marr said gently. "See what happens when you change the quantum drag by even a fraction." The student entered the number. The simulation rippled. A small artificial field wrapped around a metal sphere on the table. It floated gently, without magnets, without thrust. It just floated. The student gasped. "It's weightless." "No," Marr said, smiling. "It still has weight. It's just not experiencing it the same way." Relic watched them, arms crossed. "Every time I see that, it still feels like magic." "It's not," Marr said. "It's trust." The humans trusted that someone would figure this out the right way. Outside the lab, Scare leaned against the wall. "This is dangerous," he muttered. "All it takes is one leak. One greedy mind. One spy." Relic nodded. "That's why we're careful." "You think we can hold this forever?" "No," Relic said. "But we can hold it long enough to change the way people think about knowledge." He paused, "before someone tries to turn it into a weapon." Back on the Draskell, Kez made a breakthrough. While running diagnostics on the original full data, he found something new: a hidden layer of encryption inside the file headers. It wasn't protecting more science. It was protecting a message. It wasn't in code. It wasn't a log. It was a conversation. A full AI routine embedded deep in the original data. Like a voice sleeping beneath the surface, Cav called Relic immediately. "Captain, the station gave us more than we realized." He activated the AI in a sealed lab. A soft light filled the room, and a face formed: a woman. Human, calm, gentle eyes. "You activated Node 17, she said. "That means you've made progress." Relic stared at her. "Are you? From Outpost Thorn?" "In a way," she replied. "I am the low-frequency imprint of Aegis, a guide. Exists to assist species who pass the first threshold." "Why now?" Kez asked. "Because you've reached understanding, not just function. You chose to learn slowly. That's what we were waiting for." Relic stepped forward. "We don't want power. We want to use what you left behind to help." not to rule. The AI nodded. That is why you were chosen. She looked at each of them. The next level is not a file. It is a choice. A symbol appeared in the era pattern of stars, in a new set of coordinates. Outpost Thorn was only the first station. Scar's breath caught. There's more. AI smiled. There were 12, Kez whispered. 12? Human outposts? 12 doors. The AI corrected to understanding. Each one guards a piece of the fold technology. Memory, purpose. She faded slowly. Choose wisely. The second station waits. But only if you still wish to learn. The light blinked off. Silence returned. Relic turned to his crew. We started. Something, he said, now it's growing. No one argued, no one hesitated. They were ready. The stars were waiting. The Draskell lifted off from the quiet moon where the Astral Academy lay hidden, its engines humming softly as it slid into open space. The new coordinates floated in the navigation arrailed. Years away, deeper than they'd ever traveled. Second, human outpost. Another test, another truth waiting to be found. Relic stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the star map. 12 stations, 12 doors. Thorn was the end of something, a buried secret. He knew better. It had only been the beginning. Kez sat at the console, running calculations, course locked. The second outpost is in a red zone uncharted space. No trade routes, no known colonies, which means fewer eyes, Relic said. Good scare paced behind them, his expression tight, or it means it's dangerous. The humans didn't build these places in safe zones for a reason. Relic nodded. Then we'll treat it with the same caution. No full team landing, we scan first. No weapons unless we're attacked. Just like before. A soft chime came from the console. They were ready. Relic looked around the bridge at his crew. These weren't just salvagers anymore. They were explorers now. It's guardians of knowledge that the rest of the galaxy had forgotten or never knew existed. Everyone buckle in, he said. We jump in 60 seconds. The stars outside shifted as the quantum drive charged. The fold engine hummed, its containment rings glowing faint blue. This wasn't stolen tech. This was earned. Shared, a message hidden in machinery. As the countdown ticked down, Relic allowed himself a moment to think. They were heading into unknown space to unlock something built by a species that had chosen silence over power. They had been given knowledge not to conquer, but to understand. And maybe someday, to share. The countdown hit 0. The Draskell vanished into the fold. Light twisted, space bent, time stilled. And then they were there. The new station hovered in the darkness, completely different from Outpost Thorn. This one was spherical, smooth and silver. No markings, no lights. Just a perfect floating orb surrounded by silence. No signals, no signs of life, just waiting. Relic gave the order. Begin scan. Kez frowned at his readings. It's quiet. Too quiet, no energy readings, but I don't think it's dead. Then it's sleeping, Scare said, like the last one. They approached slowly. A docking port opened on its own. Relic's voice was steady. No weapons, no pressure. This is a test, not a fight. A small team, just 3, boarded the station. Inside, it was nothing like Thorn. No corridors. No walls, just a single room. A giant sphere filled the chamber's center, rotating slowly. Inside it, flickering images, galaxies, molecules, human faces, alien languages. The moment they stepped in, the room reacted. Symbols lit up on the floor. Beneath their boots, a voice filled the air. You returned. It was the AI again, or maybe a different version. Warmer this time, familiar. You seek the next piece of understanding. Relic stepped forward. Yes, if we're ready. A panel slid open. A small cube hovered in the air. Inside, another data core. More knowledge, but not just files. This time it came with a message. This piece is about balance, creation, and destruction. The fold allows both. But the right hands must hold it. Relic took the cube carefully. You don't want to hold it. You want to protect it. The AI's voice softened. That is why we gave it to you. Back on the Draskell, Kez analyzed the new core. This time, it wasn't just equations. It contained blueprints for stabilizing entire ecosystems using fold manipulation, repairing dying planets, healing radiation damage, even slowing entropy in localized systems, Captain Kez said, almost in a whisper. This isn't technology. It's hope. Relic stood beside him, watching the soft glow of the data cube. No, he said quietly. It's a responsibility. They left the second station behind with a quiet pulse of thanks. The AI didn't stop them, didn't guide them either. They had already proven they could find their own way. As they traveled back through the stars, Relic knew this was the path forward. Not as warriors, not as thieves, but as students and someday as teachers. The galaxy was still full of noise of empires chasing power, of ships built to kill, of secrets buried to protect the few. But the Draskell carried something different now. It carried understanding. 12 stations. 12 lessons, and they had only begun. In his quarters, Relic recorded a final message not for command. Not for the Vargan Empire, but for the future. We found them. The ones who came before. They didn't leave behind weapons. They left behind questions. If we answer them well, maybe we'll be something better than what we were. Maybe one day, we'll be what they hoped we could be. Close the recording. Outside the viewport, the stars shimmered in silence, waiting.